Welcome everyone. You are here for the Social Media Marketing 7 Steps to Successfully Launching Your Social Media Marketing Campaign. I'm Kamara Randolph. I'm your presenter for tonight. I'm with Cross Channel Market, and we equip and empower entrepreneurs with the tools they need to capture the attention of prospects, cultivate relationships, and close more sales. And I am excited and want to welcome you tonight. I know that you are probably a business owner who's gotten a lot of information about social media. Perhaps you're already using either Facebook or LinkedIn, and you just really want to know, how do you use these tools successfully? And so I'm going to share some of that with you tonight. So before we begin, I want to tell you a little bit about myself and my background. Before going out on my own, I worked for the Nashville Convention and Visitors Bureau, and I was best known as the woman who could keep things moving forward. I worked with the senior leadership and translated executive speech into everyone else speak. And I worked on lots of great projects while I was there. Even did some work on the new convention center project that's, if you live in Nashville, you know we've got this big convention center that's being built now. And there was an early team that worked to get that project approved. I had a small part in that. And I even got to serve as Garth Brooks' bodyguard for a day, which was pretty cool. So about a year ago or so, I started feeling this calling that I wanted to serve in a different and a bigger way. So I started coaching corporate professional women who wanted to move forward in their careers. And I did the traditional marketing, started getting out, marketing myself, and networking with other business owners. And I started hearing this theme over and over again. People would say to me, "I know how busy you are, and yet I see you everywhere. How are you doing that?" And so I would tell them I'm using social media and leveraging my time using technology. And so one business owner in particular said, "I want that. I really want to be more visible." And she hired me to help her. And I started working with this business owner to create a social media strategy, and I followed all the rules per se. And I expected to see the numbers skyrocket. I expected this business owner to get calls to speak on national stages and to have all these new clients calling her, number of followers increase. And so I did all of this, gave this business owner a great deal where I lost money and all of this, and nothing worked. The harder I worked, the results were still the same. And it was very, very frustrating for me. So I started to discover pretty quickly that there must be some hidden strategies that the folks who are succeeding using social media know that the rest of us did not. And I was determined that I was going to find out what those were. And so rather than try to figure it out on my own, I decided that I would go ahead and invest money, a significant amount of money, to learn with some of the industry leaders. And it was a significant commitment of time and money, but even today, what they taught me has been invaluable. And as I go to different trainings and listen to what the advice is out in the marketplace, and it's amazing how few are actually getting to the heart of the matter. And so some of the reasons for that are obvious. Some want to convince you that you can't do it on your own and that you need to hire them. Others haven't taken the time or made the investment to learn for themselves, so they really can't help you. And then there are others who still believe that social media marketing works just like corporate marketing. And so they constantly promote. And they're missing the fundamental first rule, which is to give something of value first. They're missing several other rules, but they're missing that rule and actually harming businesses rather than helping them. So there is a simple roadmap to achieve success using social media, and I think I've discovered it. And so I'm going to share that with you over the course of the next hour, or however long we're together tonight. So social media, when we talk about social media, what are we really talking about? Typically, if we were in a live setting, I would ask, tell me when you think of social media, what do you think of? And people always raise their hand and they say, I think of Facebook, or I think of LinkedIn, or I think of Twitter. And typically, it kind of stops at that platform level. So they think of the social networks, the platforms, but they don't really think of it in the broader scope. So think about this. The internet has only been around since 1989, I believe, which is pretty hard to believe that something that has changed our lives so radically has only been around since 1989. The social platforms that mostly everyone references, like Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter, haven't even been around for 8 years yet. And in the time that Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, if you just think about just those three, right now there are 1 billion, about a billion active users who use those platforms daily. So, and for Facebook in particular, people spend about an hour a day. So they go there as a destination and they spend about an hour a day just on Facebook, which is pretty amazing. So it used to be that you got a website and that you were probably maybe one of your competitors had a website, but there weren't a whole lot of people who had websites. When they first came out, that was the cool and in trendy thing to do. And what you wanted to do was just drive people to your website to tell them a little bit about your company and your business, and give them information. So then you had the social networks where people actually started to chime in and they started to share their experiences of businesses. And you had bloggers who would talk about this experience with this business or share their personal experience. And what happened is communication really did shift from one-way broadcast to a multi-point conversation. And if you think about that, that's huge. It used to be, as a business owner, you were really limited in the way that you could connect with new prospects and existing prospects. So if you were smart in the early days, perhaps you had an email list. And so you would email your clients or your prospects so that they would know if there was a new offer, if there was something new going on with your way. But that was still pretty much you broadcasting. So, or it would be television. Maybe you did an ad on television or radio, and that would be a one-way broadcast. So there wasn't really any feedback. Well, then something started to happen, and all of a sudden people realized that they had the power and that they had a voice. And so now what you're seeing is that consumers actually realize that if they just share, that their feedback, their reviews are important to you and your business. And so they're leveraging that power to influence everything. I mean, the way that we communicate has changed forever. Product delivery has changed forever. And I could go on and on about the way that social media has impacted business and our lives. So why care about social media? And this is one of those questions that's kind of rhetorical, but kind of not. I talk to a lot of business owners who say, well, I don't really think my clients are using social media, and so I'm not sure that I'm going to market this way. So there really are 4 ways for you to market your business. 4 channels or 4 buckets. Dan Kennedy, who's a renowned marketer, talks about these 4 channels. And the first one is offline. So that would be any of your print material, brochures, or whatever you have that you're handing out, print product. The next is online, and that's your website and social media. The next is broadcast, and that's television, radio, billboards, and now internet radio and internet television. And then the 4th is human, and that's your traditional networking and referrals. And the funny thing is, of those 4, so that's offline, online, broadcast, and human, 2 of them are really active. And that's your online is very active and your human. So, and what you want to do, what happens is most people will not use the social media as an active channel. They'll set it up and just kind of wait for people to come to them. And I'm going to show you a little bit later on why that's the wrong thing to do and how that may be negatively impacting your business. But the numbers alone, why you should care is because this is the way it is. It's not a fad. It's not a trend. This is the way it is. I'm going to show you some stats, and these slides go pretty fast, so we'll just kind of get through them. So if you think about, we're talking about mobile, video, social media marketing. The average viewer watches 12.2 hours of online video per month. We're uploading more videos to YouTube in 60 days than the 3 major networks produce in 60 years combined. 75% of C-level executives watch business-related videos every single week, and 40% more Americans are watching video on their mobile devices compared to last year alone. Smartphone sales are growing at a yearly rate of 49.2%. That's year over year. There's 40% more activity on social networks and blogs just since last year, and it continues to grow. Mobile device users are twice as likely to share videos with friends than non-mobile users. So as you can see, Everything about the way that we interact with each other, live, work, and play are being impacted by technology and social media and mobile marketing. So the question I always like to start with is, instead of asking, okay, so how do I use this? How do I get something out? It's, how can you help the community do what it wants to do? So think about this. I was driving to Alabama a few weeks ago. I was going to pick up my son who was on spring break. My mother-in-law lives in Mobile, and so we meet. I drive 5 hours and she drives 3 hours. And as I was driving down the highway, I was like, oh my goodness, this is like the perfect analogy. So the businesses that built their businesses next to highways did so because there's already traffic there. So, and then they've got those signs telling you, hey, I know you're hungry. They knew they were going to have a hungry market, so they have all of these restaurants at this exit. And then they knew that people were going to get tired, so they have hotels at those exits. And so the question is, what do I have to offer? This is like so important to know. What is it that you have to offer? And who is it for? Like, who is your target audience? And the more narrow you can go with this, the better off you're going to be. Where do they hang out in person and online? And then how are you going to get their attention? And then what do you want to happen after you have their attention? So let's just take a minute. What do I have to offer? This is one of those things. I was at a NABO, National Association of Women Business Owners luncheon recently, and Michael Burcham was the speaker. And he talked about how your challenge is to make sure that you have funnels for every entry point into your business. So whether a person's meeting you in person, what do you want to happen next? Whether a person's meeting you online, what do you want to happen next? And he talked about the hardest part is once you get their attention, what do you want to have happen after that? And so this is where the strategy comes in. You really have to think about what is it that you can help the community do. There's already a market there. There's already desire there. All you have to do is tap into it. You don't have to worry about creating the market, which I think is pretty cool. So it's important to remember that social media is not the entire puzzle. It's just a part of the puzzle. So for existing businesses, especially ones who are in that startup mode, I always say the best thing to do, best strategy is to go ahead and make sure that you have your base business covered. So you want to make sure that you use your traditional marketing like referrals or networking or speaking. You want to make sure that you use those traditional business building strategies to generate cash flow. Then after you have that, then you want to introduce social media in your marketing. And a couple reasons why I like to do it this way. With social media, part of it is going to be that you're listening to your audience and they're telling you needs or things that they need. And then you're just going to take that and package it. We're going to talk about content in a little bit, but you're going to package it in a way that's useful to that audience. And it does two things. It serves them, and it also gives you time and reach leverage. So if you think about it, we've always been connected, the 6 degrees of separation, but now with social media, the whole world really does become flat, and we're literally connected, maybe 2 to 3 degrees separated from every single person on the planet, which is pretty amazing. So next, once you've got your social media flowing, so you've got your Facebook page set up, you're set up on LinkedIn, perhaps you have a blog set up, perhaps you have a lead capture set up within the social media platforms, perhaps you have videos on YouTube. What is it that you want them to do once they're there? So you want to make sure that you're driving that traffic somewhere to either your offline or your online properties. And then why? Because you control these. So if Facebook decides that they're going to start charging you lots of money tomorrow for you to maintain relationships with your fan base, how are you going to feel about that? Do you like Facebook having that control? So ultimately, you want to make sure that you're driving those folks who interact with you on social media to somewhere else, something that you control. Now the challenge. Why is it that so many business owners have such trouble getting anything out of social media? You see a lot of, either you see one camp that won't even get involved in social media at all, and they're just being left behind, and you see another camp that's using it, but they're not getting anything out of it, and they're convinced that it really is a time waste because it's like, okay, well, I'm putting stuff in and I'm not getting it out. So this past Easter, I was watching some little kids do an Easter egg hunt, and it was so funny. These kids they had the cute little Easter egg baskets, and they're running down the field, and they're walking right past the eggs. And I thought to myself, okay, this is the challenge. They're walking past the eggs because they haven't been trained yet, or they don't know exactly how to spot the opportunity. So they're not able to seize the opportunities because they don't yet know how to see them. And so that's one of the challenges with social media marketing, is that the opportunities, there are probably 100 ways that you could make money using social media. And the challenge is spending enough time to understand how, so that you can then start to see those opportunities, so that then you can seize those opportunities. So the first place we like to start, and this is part of the 7-step process, is you want to start by focusing on the ultimate goal. What is it that you really want to accomplish? And use social media as the vehicle to get you to that what is it? And focus on building relationships. Social media marketing and networking work just like traditional marketing and networking. And it's really important that you don't throw out all the fundamentals that you've learned in your business building. So for example, when you network, my guess is that you probably focus on how you can add value to the person that you're networking with. It's the same in social media. You want to make sure that your audience, your community, that you're adding value to them. And then the other thing is that we spend all this time reinventing the wheel, trying to create our own community when you really don't need to. You just need to tap into the existing community. There are people right now who are looking for your products, services, solutions. And what you want to do is make sure that when they're ready, they can find you, and that you've built a relationship with them, so that when they're ready to make that purchase decision, they come to you first. So here are some social media basics. I asked in the beginning, when you think of social media, what do you think of? And typically, mostly everybody starts in that third quadrant, the common social networks. And I've got to update this slide so that I can add Pinterest, which is the newest common social network. But people tend to think of those big networks, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Google+, and now Pinterest, as social media, when it really is much more than that. So you have your content, social content and publishing, and that would be your websites. Articles, if you create articles and you share them on the article directories. Blogs, if you have a blog and if you distribute that blog widely. Video sites like YouTube, and then of course iTunes. And then, so once you've got your content, you've got to make sure that you share it. So here are some sites that are social share sites. And really what I want to do is just paint this picture for you that social media encompasses all of these pieces. And done well, what you'll do is pull all these pieces together so that you're not spending all of your day going, okay, so now I've got this piece, now how do I get it over to here? So you've got social sharing and voting, and then you go to the common social networks, and then social tracking like Foursquare and Gowalla, and then you've got social engagement, so that's where you've got the communities and the forums and the blog commenting. So if your head is spinning with all this terminology, just take a deep breath and don't get worked up. The great thing is you don't have to know all of it. You just have to know some fundamentals about which piece do you know, and you can also get help. So when I advise people on how to do social media the right way, I always tell them, don't look for the right way. Look for the right way for you. And social media is something that you are. It's really not something that you do. So when I hear business owners who talk about they've got to go and market, it's just like once you've been doing your business for a while, especially if you're passionate about it, you're going to get to a point where everything you do is going to become marketing. So you're going to look for ways that you can make sure that your marketing message is embedded in everything that you do. You're going to be looking for new leads all the time. You're going to be building referral relationships all the time. And it just becomes a part of what you do. Social media is very much that way. You'll look at it in terms of how can you get the word out to those people who most need you. And then how can you build relationships with referral partners or others through these channels. It's nothing more, nothing less than that. So there really are 7 steps to social media marketing success. And I've shared some of these with you, but we're going to go in depth and look at each one of these steps. So step one is you want to start with the end in mind. And that seems like kind of an obvious thing, but you'd be surprised by how many people start using the networks and the tools, and then afterwards they're not even clear on what they want to accomplish there. Step two is research. Market research is the foundation of any successful social media marketing campaign. And we'll talk about how to do your market research in a bit. Step three is content creation. You want to have a content creation strategy. You've got to know what are you going to say. And content is really like the most important part. But besides research, then you want to do the content. And those two are probably the most important pieces. The next step is content distribution. So now that you've got your content developed, where are you going to distribute it? Step 5 is call to actions. You want to make sure that every step of the way you're asking people to take action and that you're crystal clear on what action you want them to take. Step 6 is shareability. You've got to make sure that whatever you're creating, that you've made it easy for people to share it. Step 7 is measure, refine, and repeat. So you want to be constantly tracking what's working well, what isn't working well, to make sure that you're going in the right direction. So you set that goal in step 1. You want to make sure that you're measuring how are you coming along on that roadmap in step 7. So before we go step by step, I want to talk about what gets in the way. Because this is, I said on the announcement that I want to talk about the number one thing that keeps entrepreneurs from succeeding. And so I've got 5 things, but really they're all kind of the same thing. So the first thing is not knowing the lay of the land. So each one of those large social platforms that we talked about, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, all have their own etiquette, their own styles, what's acceptable in all of those channels. And so you really do have to know the lay of the land. The other thing is, knowing the lay of the land, you'll quickly discover, like on LinkedIn, for example, your profile using keywords, the words that people would be searching for to find you in your profile, is so critical to being found. And so knowing where to put those and how to do that, and then knowing the groups, how to find your prospects and targets is so important, but we don't take the time to do that. It's almost like getting a computer and turning it on, but not figuring out which software you have to make it really do what you want to do. The second one is not really understanding what you have to offer. And this may seem like a strange one to put here, but I work with people day in and day out who, when I say, okay, so who are we talking to and what are we saying to them, they're not clear on their marketing message. And so because they're not clear on the marketing message, it makes everything else more difficult. So you've got to be clear on your marketing message before any marketing campaign, whether it's social media or regular, will work. The third is not being able to communicate that offer effectively. And this is a big one, because if you think about it, like Twitter, the max characters that you can have is 140 characters. And so you've got to make sure that you're succinct and that you're communicating what you offer in sound bites. And for a lot of us, even myself included, it's tough. And it's one of those things that you'll get better at it. The more you do it, the better you'll get at communicating concisely what it is that you have to offer. The fourth one is waiting for everything to be perfect. So I think about this one when it comes to sometimes I've even done this myself with like videos. Video is one of the most powerful tools that you can use to get your message out and build rapport quickly. And I've gone and shot videos myself, and I'm like, oh, these aren't perfect, so I'm not using them. So we end up missing out on opportunities because we're waiting for things to be perfect. So, and that could even go towards your blog. So you're a blogger, but you're afraid that you don't have it perfectly set up, and so you don't do anything. So waiting for perfection is a big one. And then this fifth one is making it all about you instead of making it about them. So you want to make sure in social media marketing, it's really important. This is like so important that you tune into the what's in it for them channel, and that you never ever leave. Because what happens is if you tune into your channel, you'll be hidden. They'll hide you from their wall. You won't even know it. They'll like you on Facebook, but they'll never see your post because they've hidden you. And and it just makes it so much easier. People are almost conditioned now to expect something first, and that to expect it to be all about them before it's all about you. And so that's one of the things that gets in the way. So the first thing you want to do is you want to start with the end in mind. You want to set a goal. So, and typically when I first start working with people and we talk about setting this goal, it has to be just like any other SMART goal: specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time sensitive. So what is it? So perhaps your goal could be that you want to build your own email community, that you don't have one, that you want to double it, like go from 0 to 1,000 newsletter subscribers or email subscribers. Perhaps it's that you want to convert more clients. Perhaps your conversion needs strengthening, so you want to convert more. Perhaps it's that you need to generate leads from new sources and that you want to identify 2 to 3 new sources for lead generation. So any of those are very valid goals. Perhaps it's that you want to build yourself as an expert. You want to make sure that you are seen as the expert in your industry. And so how do you do that? You make sure that you're visible and that you come up first in the search results, and that people find you before they find other people. So whatever the goal that you determine, that you set up front, is going to determine the strategy that you're going to take. And so that's why it's really important to nail that goal. And so one of the things is you may want, this is where the strategy becomes really important. And that's another thing that people do, is they start using the platforms, but they don't have any strategy in place. And so it's just kind of random. The messaging's all over the place. Everything's just kind of random. So you want to start with the end, because that's going to determine, okay, so which platforms where do we need to be? And then what do we need to say? And then how aggressively do we need to pursue it? It determines all of that. So one strategy that I've used to set that strategy is to do kind of like a mind map and go, okay, so here's where I need more traffic to my website. Okay, so I'm going to use the social media channels to get more traffic to my website. Here's what I'm going to do that. I'm going to create this much content, and I'm going to post it at this time, so that you can kind of get started. So start with the end in mind. And then, so the second one, and this is kind of, this is your market research, but you want to listen and study first. Every great teacher is a great student first, and so you want to spend a lot of time here. And this is your market research. And you want to know, just take some time. So this is one of those things where I will create an Excel spreadsheet and just detail. So who are the top 5? If you Google your business right now, say you're a graphic designer in Nashville. If you Google graphic designer in Nashville, are you one of the 5 that comes up? If not, who is? And then go and look to see, what are they offering? What is different about their site than yours? Where are you different? So you want to know, what are others doing? You want to know what keywords are people looking for in your category. So it may be, so in the example of a graphic designer, it could be graphic design, it could be visual branding, it could be any of those. So Google has an awesome keyword tool, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, but you want to know exactly, here are the keywords that people are searching for. Here's how big my potential reach is. And you want to know all of this beforehand. And you want to make sure that when we talk about social media marketing mindset, there's 3 things that are really, really important to remember. Number 1 is it's a requirement that you add value. Everything that you do in the social media space should be adding value to someone. It's also permission-based. So the cool thing about all of them is, if someone were to go to your website and sign up for your email, or if you have a free gift on your website, they have said, yes, I want to receive that. Yes, I want to receive communication from you. If they've liked your Facebook page, they've said, yes, I want to hear from you. If they followed you on Twitter, they've said yes. So we're in this permission-based society, and so it's really important that you don't spam people, that you make sure that you have permission to contact them to build relationships. The next thing is you want to do things that build community. So one of the strategies that people are using almost for any kind of business is to create some kind of event or contest or promotion so that you get people involved. And this is really, Amazon has done like one of the best jobs of really partnering with people. Because if you look at Amazon's model, they first started out as a book distributor. They were competing with Borders and Barnes and Noble and other bookstores. Well, then quickly they realized that that business model was going to limit their growth. And so they expanded it and started offering products and services from other people who would probably be seen as their natural competitors, but they didn't see it that way. They saw it as building community and sharing resources. And now they have this big, huge network that does just about everything. I mean, I use their web storage service to store videos because they offer storage in the cloud for like a ridiculously cheap fee because they have scalability. So you want to look at ways that you can build community, and that could be by partnering with what would be considered competitors. It could be by doing joint ventures with referral partners. Any of those things could be a possibility for you. So tools to do your research. There are some fabulous tools to figure out where your market is or how big the market is. And so I've listed some of them here. So for keyword research, and when I say keyword, I mean, so someone goes to Google or one of the other search engines and they type in, dentist in Nashville, Tennessee. You'll see how many people are searching for that term. That's what it calls. When you go to Google or one of the other search engines and you type in a phrase, that's called a keyword. And so your Google has a keyword tool. If you just go to google.com and search keyword tool, it'll pop up with their keyword tool. And it will show you how many global searches for each keyword that you're looking for and how many local searches, which is really important if you have a local-based business. And then it will also show you alternative words. So that you're not missing out on important words, it'll say, hey, you may also want to look at these keywords as well. Another great research tool that's free to use is Google's Advanced Search tool. And if you Google it and do Advanced Search tool, it will pop up, and you can search for like groups on Facebook or LinkedIn so that you can really get a good scope for the size of your audience. Say, for example, you had a business that targeted working moms. You could do a Google Advanced Search for working moms to find those terms on Facebook and LinkedIn and be able to really target your audience. And so these are some other YouTube keyword tool, and then Amazon.com, which, as you know, you can. For that one, I look to see what are the top 5 books in my category, and then you're just going to want to pick those apart. What topics are they talking about? What's resonating with the market? And then how have they categorized it? So, in other words, what are the keywords that they're using to come up first on Amazon? And where are they getting traffic from? And then another one is Ezine Articles. So Ezine Articles is one of the largest article directories. And if you go there and you type in, like I typed in relationship coach, and a guy who's at the top, I found his search first. And what I was able to go is look to see what keywords he was using, and how many comments he got, and how many people shared that article. So then that told me, hey, this is a hot topic. And I did this research for someone who was in the relationship coaching field. The other place that you can do keyword research is on your competitors' websites. So everything on the web pretty much is open source. You can go and look at their code to see exactly what keywords they're using in their headlines, their titles, how many times those keywords appear on their site, so that you can start to plan your strategy around that. So another way that I like to do research, and this is one of those things that I just set up, it's one of those set it and forget it, is Google Alert. If you haven't set a Google Alert on your company and your competitor, you should. because it will tell you which ones are coming up top on Google. And so I have a Google alert set for how to use social media for business, because I want to see who's occupying that top space and which articles and blogs has Google deemed worthy enough to share it worldwide with anyone who's got that Google alert set. And so this is one, you just go under Google, and they have a category for Google alert, and you can set it exactly how you want, set for your name and for your organization. So this is a search I did just to show you some examples. I was thinking, okay, so who would I like to work with next? And I thought, I think I'd like to work with an accountant here in Tennessee, because their tax season is over. They just finished answering lots of questions from clients, and so they're primed to develop some content. So I went and I did an advanced Google search on accountants in Tennessee who are on Facebook, because I want to make sure that not only do I find an accountant, but I find someone who's social media savvy. Perhaps they just need some help working out their strategy, but they've already developed, they already know it's important. So I was able to find this organization, Tennessee Society of Certified Public Accountants. And so there are 267 people who like them, and they post their events on their website. So guess what a great strategy for me to do would be? For me to find out who those 267 people are, and then also to look to see where their events are, because that's where I'm going to want to network. So this is a great strategy for combining offline and online marketing. So I'm going to use this information I find online to go offline to do business. And this is just another one where you're able to see that search and how it pulled up lots of accountants in this area. Okay, so you got that it's important, social media is important, and then, but how? The question I always get is, okay, I get that I really do need to be using social media to grow my business, but I'm really not sure how. And so we talked about the two pieces here are content creation and engagement strategy, and then the other piece is content distribution strategy. So with your content creation, like people say to me, what do you mean by content? So content is anything that you produce for the web. So for example, it could be, and you have three ways to create content. So it's either written, it's audio, or it's video. So you could decide that you're a writer and that you want to create blogs and articles and perhaps hard books or electronic books that would serve your market. And so we would sit down and look to say, okay, so how can we get started easily? So part of the market research would have been determining what your competitors are doing, what they're doing well, where there might be space for you to do it as well, so that you're not having to go out and recreate the wheel. The other piece of it is to look at, okay, what is it that people ask me all the time? What is it that they should be asking me? Like, what are the answers I give them that are separate and different from what other people in my market say? Those are great areas to look at creating content. And so with this content creation strategy, you can have a lot of fun with it. So if you are someone who likes to do video, like all of a sudden I'm starting to use video for just about everything, and getting into it. So I can create a video, I can turn that video into an audio. I can take that audio and put it in the podcast directories. I can also take that video and have it transcribed. So in other words, someone will take what I've said and write it out, transcribe it, and then I can use that as blogs, articles, post on my social media sites, and use it. So I've created content. I've done one thing, created content, and then I have used it in multiple ways over and over and over again. So it could be that perhaps you're a speaker and that you do a couple of speeches. It could be that you take pieces of those speeches that be good teasers and you use that to jumpstart your content, or you use that to create some videos. So you want to look at ways that you can repurpose what's existing already, and find the way that resonates for you. Now, it may be that you have to look at also what resonates for your audience. So if for example, your audience loves to listen to audio, like I listen to audios probably daily on my iPod Touch, on my phone, And so I'm one of those people that if you develop audios, I'm going to purchase because that's one way that I love to consume information. So you want to look to find if you can figure out ways to combine your style with your audience's style. That's like the best fit. All right, so content distribution strategy. How are you going to syndicate your content and get your message out there? So when I say syndicate content, if you think about a radio show, or this is one of those great strategies that online marketers have taken from the traditional broadcast medium. So if you think about a radio show is broadcast, but then it's picked up on multiple stations, different stations. If you think about television shows, they're created once, and then they're shared on multiple television channels, or they go into syndication so long after the show is over, those television shows live on. Same thing online with your content. It's now possible for you to share your information broad and wide and get it so that other people can find it later on so that they can then share it as well, which is pretty cool. We've never really had that before. So some of those, like I use a system called the Traffic Geyser, which we have about 70 social networks, social platforms in this one system. So with a click of a button, we take all the content, repurpose it, and distribute it widely every single time. And so what that does is that creates, Google likes to see two things. They like to see that you're creating fresh content, and they like to see that people are engaging with that content. And so by distributing it, you're automatically giving Google some of what it wants. And then when you share it or when other people interact with it, it just helps you even more. So it's almost like exponential growth. Now your content is going to drive everything. And this is one of those things that's really, it's a mindset shift. Once you start to get it, you'll get it, and you'll start to think of how can you, what kind of content can you create, and how can you get that share. So if any of these terms on this slide make you nervous, make you uncomfortable, or you're not familiar with them, don't worry about them. You don't really need to worry about all that. Here's what you need to know. You need to know that your content is what's going to help you separate yourself from everybody else. Because number one, we're still early in the game where lots of people who should be creating content are not. For example, this webinar is a piece of content. And it could be that it's turned into an audio and you can listen to it, or that it's turned into smaller lessons. But at the end of the day, it's content. And so you want to use your content to do everything from your list building, if you decide you want to grow your email list, to getting traffic to your website. You want to have an attractive offer that attracts people so that they say yes, they'll give you their name and email address, to creating sales videos, and on and on and on. You can use your content for just about every single thing. And as we talked about earlier, you want to find smart ways that you can repurpose that content. So you create it once, and then you share it multiple ways for the benefit of multiple people. And it's just very cool. This is what gives you the time leverage. All right, so the last three steps are, you want to make sure that you have calls to action. You want to make sure that your content is shareable, and you want to make sure that you're measuring. So we're going to kind of back and forth to this slide because I've got some other slides I want to show you so I can show you some examples of this. So you want to make sure that you have a clear call to action. And it doesn't have to be something that's big. It can be a simple call to action. Like if you're creating videos, it could be like this video or leave a comment. If it's on your blog, it could be leave a comment on this blog or share this with your community. Or it could be bolder calls to actions like sign up for a free consultation or sign up for my program. But whatever you're creating, you want to make sure that you have a call to action. There's nothing worse than building an audience, a community, and you never ask them to do anything. Because guess what? You're training them not to be very responsive. And then that list, you're not going to know if you have a good list, email list or not. Because if you haven't ever asked them to do anything, it's really hard to know, right? So you want to make sure that you start asking them to take some sort of action, and that they get comfortable with that they know they're going to be asked to do something, even if it's small. And I want to show you an example here of a great call to action. This is Suzanne Evans. She is just a marketing whiz. She helps business owners grow their business. And I started following her years ago, and I just love the way that she's very much, everything that she does has all these elements in there. And so here you can see where she talks about grab your free DVD at the very top. So you go to her website, and the very first thing you see, it's above the fold. So if we were thinking in newspaper terms, you want to make sure that you've asked for it above the fold. You don't want them to have to scroll. So grab your free DVD, and here's what it is. And then she's got her famous phrase, H yeah. And then here's another call to action. Share this article with your tribe. So she's telling you specifically what she wants you to do. And if you share this article with your tribe, you need to include the following citation at the end of the article. So she's telling you, giving you very specifics on what she wants you to do. All of her emails, all of her teleseminars, all of them are formatted in that very same way. Clear call to actions. All right, so shareability. So here's what's the power of the network is that now, even if you think about Facebook and that like button, so you like something and that broadcasts to your community right then that you like something. And so guess what? People who are interested in what you like are going to go check it out. And then same thing with platforms like Dig. So there's a whole network for people to bookmark the things that they're interested in and the things that they like. So you want to make sure that you have made it easy for people to share your content. And there are two pieces to this shareability piece. The number one is what happens on your website and in the social space. So you want to make sure that on your website you have share buttons everywhere where it makes sense. I'm going to show you Suzanne's example for that as well. You want to make sure that you're sharing your content in the social bookmark sites so that it can be shared there with other people. And you want to make sure that if you want something shared on like Facebook or Twitter, that you ask people to share it. That's a call to action plus the shareability. And so here's the thing about shareability is that's the first piece of it. The other piece of it is that nobody grows alone. Success happens in community. Success happens together. So you've got to make it easy for people to share your stuff. The other thing is think about the way that you share stuff. Like, I love being that person that shares valuable resources with my friends and my family and my community. And so people, if you create content, you got to make sure that it's something juicy that people are going to want to share. That it's one of those things that you just want to make sure that you've made it easy for them to share. It's like a no-brainer, like, oh my goodness, I'm going to share this. I can't wait to share it. And the other thing is, so don't try to do it alone because it doesn't work that way. It's part of the power of social media marketing is that you have all of these people amplifying the message so that you get the numbers that you want. So on this example with Suzanne Evans, what you see is the share button. You see the share. Hopefully you can see my cursor going around the share and enjoy. So she's got the way for you to quickly click a button and share. And my guess is if you click one of those, she probably also has it so that it's already, the text that's going to appear already does it. So you don't even have to type it. So she's made it super easy for you to share. The other thing is for her article, for people who want to be able to share it with their communities, she's made it super, super easy. So all you have to do is follow those instructions and you're done sharing it. Now here's another example, just a recent example. There's a guy whose name is Brendan Burchard, and he is he's done some amazing things using video to grow his business to a multi-million-dollar business in I think 4 years' time. But he just recently launched a new book, and so over the course of the last few days, I have gotten, like, I just counted, I'm pretty sure I deleted some of them, but I counted 17 different emails over a period of a few days, all promoting the same offer. So they're all promoting his video. So as you can see, he hasn't tried to do it alone. He's enlisted the help of other people who are helping him do that. Now, there are a couple of different ways that you can do this. One is to introduce an affiliate marketing program, and that's outside the scope of this call. But the other way is that you ask people, hey, help me share this message. And when they become like an advocate for you, they'll gladly do that. I have several people who everything that they do, I share it because I just feel like that they have so enriched my life that for me to be able to share what they're doing with other people so they can be involved in that enrichment is wonderful. I love doing it. And really, if you think about this, this is no different from referral marketing. So in traditional business building, we have referrals. People send their friends to you because they think you're awesome, your service is outstanding. This is really that same thing, just in a faster, more visible, more leveraged strategy. So that's the shareability. And then the next is the last thing that you want to include in your 7 steps is measuring progress towards goals. What are you measuring? You've got to know, how are you measuring the number of likes, comments, shares? And that's one level of measurement. And that's kind of where a lot of business owners get stuck because they just want to, it's like, oh, go like my page, and they just want to measure there. But really, what you want to do is kind of even measure. So if you posted something on, say, Facebook or LinkedIn, like how many people subscribed to your email list as a result of that? How many people viewed and connected with you as a result of that? How many people shared your content? Those may be some of the goals, and it's really important to set those goals up front so that you can know how you're doing along the way. It could be that you decide you want to, like with all the platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, you can message people. And one of the most powerful strategies that's not used as much is doing the messaging through, for example, through LinkedIn. You can message up to 100 people a day with their free account. I can tell you that I think I've gotten maybe a handful of those in the course of the time I've been on LinkedIn. So that's one of those areas where there's huge opportunity that people just don't know how to use it. Facebook, same deal. You can message people on Facebook. And so it may be that you measure how many, so you sent 5 friend requests, how many did you get? How many people said yes? So you want to define your metrics up front so that you can measure your progress towards your goal. And then the other thing, so now that you've got your content, you're figuring out how to distribute your content, you want to find ways to integrate all the elements so they amplify each other. So you want to make sure that you're taking your search engines, SEO, making sure that your website is optimized. That term optimized means that you've taken advantage of all of the opportunities you can within your website. Video, if you're starting to use video, you want to make sure that you integrate that in your website and also your social media. If you're starting to dip your toe into mobile marketing, you want to make sure that it's integrated. So you want to take a layered approach, and that's how things work most efficiently and effectively, by layering them. So there are a couple of things. Before we end, I want to share with you what's on the horizon, because you're hearing mobile marketing everywhere. I mean, every day I get a new email saying, hey, here's 10 ways to profit from mobile marketing. It's one of those things that social media marketing and mobile marketing are different, but I just think you should be on the lookout for mobile marketing because it's just so huge. If you think about it, our cell phones are the only thing we're hardly ever separated from. The text message campaigns alone, people read text messages within a minute. Like 97% of people read text messages within a minute of receipt. I mean, we've never had that kind of access to people. So here are some easy ways to get started with that. The QR code. Probably you've seen the QR code somewhere. This QR code goes to my Facebook site. So if you were to scan that code, you could like my Facebook site without ever going to Facebook, which is pretty cool. You can use QR codes for just about everything. I've seen Panera's using them on their bags that they already were creating. They were already going to be spending the money on these bags. So now when you check out, you have a QR code, you scan it, it takes you to, would you like to join our VIP club? So you get a little bonus for scanning it. And it's just really cool. So this is a way to take people from traditional print offline into the online space to do whatever you want. Direct them to videos or make additional offers. And there's lots of ways that you can use these QR codes. And Like I think this one was created as socialqrcode.com. I think that's the right website. They're free. I mean, they're free to use. They're easy to get and created. You can put them on T-shirts, name badges, just about anything. So don't overlook QR codes. Next is the apps. The App Store is just growing by leaps and bounds. App downloads actually outnumber music downloads, which is just nuts, just crazy. And if you think about it, iTunes is one of the few places, iTunes and Amazon, one of the few places who keep credit cards on file and who have made micro purchasing just so very cool. So what do I mean by micro purchasing? It's like 99 cents or $1.99 or $2.99. So they've made it, it's like almost, it's just so easy to just click and say yes to a small purchase, and before you know it, you've purchased lots of stuff. So there are opportunities for you to design, to get an app, and to do so for free. I don't have time to get into that tonight, but just look out for, is there a way that you can integrate apps right now? It's still a wide open market, so if you go and do this now, you're going to be so far ahead of your competition, it's just not going to be real. So the other is that everything is moving towards offline and mobile. So this is a good example, the Square, where you can accept credit cards anywhere, which is just cool. So you could turn your iPhone, now not only does your iPhone do everything else, but now you can turn it into a credit card machine. And Square is a competitor of PayPal, and they actually pay out, I believe, like the next day, which is like pretty cool. So those are some things to be on the lookout for. So to recap, the 7 steps to social media marketing success are: step 1, start with the end in mind. Step 2 is to do your research. Step 3 is develop a content creation strategy. What are you going to say? Step 4 is develop a content distribution strategy. How are you going to share your content? Step 5 is creating call to actions everywhere. Step 6 is making sure that your content is shareable. And step 7 is to measure, refine, and repeat. So we have covered a lot of ground, and hopefully it's all made sense. One of the things that I'm passionate about is helping make technology accessible to more people, because I always like to say I don't really focus on what the technology can do. It's really technology, it's like what the technology can help you do. So technology can help you build relationships faster, better, stronger. And so it's not really about the tech, it's about the relationship. And if you remember that, you're going to go well. So if you include these 7 steps in your process, you're going to figure out where you need to be, which platforms you need to spend your time on, how to develop content that's going to resonate with your audience, and how to profit from using social media. So if you have any questions or you need more information, feel free to connect with me. You can find me on Facebook. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter or connect with me on LinkedIn or email me. And I will be starting a training program in the next couple of weeks where we're going to go step by step into the platforms and into some of the tech tools that I use all the time to free myself up. And so if you're interested in that, please drop me an email. This has been Kamara Randolph, and thank you so much for watching.